Hello and welcome to another meeting of the Geek Cabal, the Cabal Whisperings. This is episode number 43. It's been a little while since our last episode. This time of year just seems to be a little harder and harder to find time to record. But anyways, my name is Jim.
I'm Bobbie.
And yes, this is the Geek Cabal channel. So if you're new here, welcome. You
got 42 episodes to catch up on.
And that's a lot of drawn out conversations in those episodes.
Yes.
But if you are new here, I mean, we cover a wide range of topics, stuff from Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, to board games, video games, obviously video games, and everything in between. So
Yes, and some things out of bounds.
But anyways, so as far as channel updates, what do you got on the...
Well, I have officially gone ahead with I'm going to space the videos out a little bit plan. So I'm trying to get them up every other day because this time of year, just like nothing is happening. So finding inspiration is rough.
Yeah.
I'm basically having to troll the internet to find discussion of things, be like, that sounds interesting, I'll talk about that. Like the latest video I put up was talking about whether or not Predator 2 was a bad movie or a bad sequel. That spun out of me seeing someone post the movie poster and had a little bit of discussion down below it. And I was like, that's actually not a bad topic. So it actually got a lot of discussion going. Not a lot of views, but a lot of discussion. I almost have more comments than I do views right now on that one. But that includes my responses, though. So, so yeah, the videos are going up about every other day. At least that's where I'm trying to space them out. And... we're still moving forward with the shorts and the TikTok stuff. Again, that's spaced out a little bit at the moment, and because again, inspiration. So check those things out too. Now, where I can, I'm combining the two. Like recently, I did a build of a Lego set. It was the Piranha Plant from Super Mario Brothers, and then I also did a short talking about it, kind of go back to it. But the short is me, putting the finished set on a turntable and, displaying the set, and then saying, hey, you want to check out the whole video of me building it, go over here, kind of stuff. So, synergy.
Yes.
But, yeah. So, I mean, that's been it lately. There will continue to be Battletech stuff, obviously. It's been a little thin at the moment. But I do actually have a product that I have ordered that I should hopefully be getting within the next week or so that'll be worth talking about. That's the Aces box set. Because Fortress Miniatures had them for pre-order. They're supposed to be getting them this weekend, and then they'll mail them out. So, but yeah, other than that, I just have to find the time to actually focus to read, so I can talk about some of the books and other things. So, and that's along with lack of inspiration, there's also lack of will to do things like that. So.
Yeah, the change in weather for me, especially, I was going to say, when people talk about seasonal depression, it is a real thing, just the motivation. Like I say, where I'm recording right now is just mile and a half from my house, and I haven't even gotten the desire to come out here. I barely made it into my garage, where I have some other of my collection that I can't really store here, like some arcade machines and different things like that. So
I kind of wondered about those, Jim, in the video.
Yeah, yeah. So I will have a video going up with a little bit of a garage tour of some of the stuff I have in my garage, and one of the things I was asking was if anybody knew where I could get parts for that arcade 1-up Galaga machine. The buttons are not responsive. The thing turns on, powers on just fine. The Pac-Man machine works just fine. So looking for some help on that. It's an older machine. The parts don't seem to be readily available. So seeing what I can do to fix that. But yeah. Yes, so some of my videos look like I'm shooting it in a trashed garage, and right now it is. I mean, right now I'm in the middle of I've got my fiance stuff that's moved in there, and my overflow collection and stuff. So so some of those items that I don't have here, I'm doing some recordings over there, so you can see just what I got. The one that went up recently was the Steel Battalion controller, which. By the way, is one of the coolest things in my collection. I can't use anything with it. I'm still looking for foot pedals, and some people showed me that there's some DIY foot pedals you can buy for it. Somebody made a kit for it. So, may go that route, but I'd rather have the authentic ones if I could just find where somebody has just the pedals. So, but anyways, so yeah, I've been doing a little bit of recording out in my garage, just going through some of the stuff that I have out there. Because a lot of my stuff's over there. I can't fit everything in this room. This room's, I don't know, like 10 by 10, maybe 10 by 12. I don't know. Something like that. Not a very big room.
It's probably close to that. Those tiles are probably 2 foot. So
So-
that's probably about 11 by 11, probably.
Yeah, so it's not a very big room. So yeah, a couple arcade cabinets and the Steel Battalion controller, and we would be, sitting out in the hallway when we did our thing here. So, anyways,
Yeah, to something Jim said, though, what was it, 2 weeks ago that we had the time change? Yeah, I'm still not acclimated to it.
I mean,
We, for the longest time, our part of Indiana did not do that. We just stayed the same time. And then, what was it, 15 years ago probably? They changed it so that we stay on Eastern time now, so we observe daylight savings time. And so now all of a sudden it's dark here at like 6 o'clock. And it's only going to get worse because we've still got little over another month until we hit the winter solstice, which would be December 21st, which is the shortest day of the year as far as daylight hours. And it's not until December 22nd the days start to get longer, but they'll be shorter by approximately a minute every single day until December 21st. So it'll be dark at like 5 o'clock, December 21st.
yeah, and that just kills me because like my body's like already like, okay, it's time to get ready for bed. It's time to start settling down. And
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like it is helping me get the videos done a little bit better because I'm like, oh man, it's already dark. I need to start recording. And it's like, it's 6 o'clock. And like I would record later and then it'd take me forever to edit and because I'd be watching TV. And so the videos I'm getting them done faster. So I'm going to bed a little bit earlier, but I guess that's good. I don't know.
but
I've been sleep deprived for a long time.
oh yeah, I didn't. Since Bobby's not on TikTok, you didn't see one of the videos I put up was I did some pictures of the Northern Lights that we had here.
Oh, did you go see him?
Yeah, I took pictures of them. I'll send you the video that I made for the TikTok. Then you could post that.
Yeah, I went out Wednesday night trying to see them. Didn't see anything. I saw them like a year and a half ago whenever they were here.
Well, if you have if you're taking the pictures with the night mode on,
Yeah.
it brightens up everything, and they look pretty good.
Yeah, I got a few pictures with my then crappier phone. That's why I never posted them anywhere because the pictures aren't any good. But the pictures were better than what I could see with my naked eyes. So,
Yep.
and I've heard that's a common thing with the Aurora. So,
Anyways, besides the updates, I mean, we're gonna try our best to get more videos out. I can't guarantee that we're gonna have as many podcasts out just because we got Thanksgiving coming in a couple of weeks. And obviously the month of December is just a crapshoot for anything because
yeah.
just depends. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm taking off every Friday in December and then taking off the last 2 weeks of December
All right.
because I have so much PTO. I ended up having 10 days of PTO I had to burn through.
Man.
Because we can only roll over 5, so I had to burn through 10. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I'm taking off the half a month at this point.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
So
Well, I don't know if you saw it, but I did actually get Chad in a video
I did not see.
like in the last couple of weeks. We were talking about trying to get together about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't sure. He was like, "Well, we could record today," and I'm like, "You know what? Then we're recording today, like because tomorrow you're going to tell me like your horoscope says you shouldn't travel or something, and I shouldn't joke about that." I even told him that to his face. He was like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Chad, don't even like." But we recorded talked about horror movies. It was a stretch, but he hadn't done any of the background work on looking up the G.I. Joe stuff, so there was no point even trying to record that. So I do hope to get another episode of the Toys Tabletop and Beyond because he finally has his stuff from the Leviathans Kickstarter. So we might just do an unboxing of that if he hasn't done it already. He has been getting stuff together so he can record like some miniature stuff there at his place. Might be on a temporary hiatus because he's actually getting ready to move apparently. His landlord's giving him a better place, him in Jordan. So
Yeah, cool.
a little bit bigger.
Always.
But yeah, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about the next topic in the next topic. But Levi and I do have another horror one planned, and I'll talk about what we're going to talk about in the next one because it involves a movie we went to go watch recently. So
Yeah, and we're going to try to keep, I know we always say we try to keep these episodes shorter, and it ends up...
so we only have 2 topics, so as long as we don't really go for it, like.
And I promise with our second item on the list here, so we only got 3. And the third one is our main topic of the day, the main topic of the podcast. So.
Yeah, we should actually just go ahead and say what the other topics are in case we want to jump ahead.
Okay, so
I
yeah.
should have said that before we started on the update.
So we're going to be talking about some recent movies and shows and things that we're looking forward to. And then our main topic of the day is going to be, why do the humans in Star Trek seem to be the only species out there that's dabbling in AI. So, but yeah, that'll be the topic that we're going to have in a little bit coming up. So, if you don't want to listen to us talk about movies and shows,
Yeah, hopefully I put timestamps in whenever I put this up. So
and
if you want to jump ahead.
if you didn't, you can, it's easy enough to jump ahead. So, all right. So, I did a thing that I said I would not do. As much as Disney kept pushing for people to watch a certain movie, I was with my fiance and I'm like, why don't we? I said, we've watched most of the live action remake stuff, all hit and miss, but okay. Like Little Mermaid was okay. Aladdin was better than I thought it was going to be. Snow White, it was just as bad, if not worse, than what the. I don't understand why they didn't have very much in like trailers and stuff like that, because it was horrible. I think there was only one moment that was like halfway decent. It was when Snow White wasn't even the scene. It was the Seven Dwarfs singing "Hi Ho."
It's off to work we go.
Yes, that was about the only thing that was like, okay, that's kind of nice. But to me, the acting was just the storytelling was blah. Like there was just a lot of like there was a scene where the huntsman's going to go after Snow White, and the evil queen says, "Hey, why don't you go and pick some apples in the out in the pasture?" And she's like, "Okay," and then she tells the huntsman, "You need to go out there and kill her and put her heart in the box." Blah blah blah. And there's just this awkward jump to her like walking out into the orchard. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like the cut to the point that my fiance's like, "Where are they at? What just happened?" And I'm like, they're out in the apple orchard, where she just sent her to, be out there to get murdered. And it's just like, just a lot of weird cuts. The costumes and stuff just, like, to me, it seemed like if it was a Disney movie, it was like a made-for-TV Disney movie, like Descendants or something like that. It had...
Like some of the old direct-to-video sequels?
But even, and I'm talking live-action sequels. Like, the stuff that's like the costumes were just weird. The acting was weird. I don't know. It's like the whole thing just was not a good movie. I mean, if I hadn't watched the original Snow White and I said, I'm going to watch this and give you my opinion on it, it was terrible. But then I had to remind my fiance, like, do you remember how messed up the ending of the original Snow White was? Where the dwarves were like riding after her to murder her. I mean, they weren't going to just capture her or anything. They were going to like just straight up kill her. And she fell off the cliff on her own, but... yeah, they have like a scene where you're like thinking, "Oh gosh, this is going to happen." They're riding in on the deer. No, nothing happens. Like they add like this entire other part where after she gives her the apple, she goes back, gets pretty again, and instead of her dying on her own, she still dies on her own. And it's something like she shatters the mirror, the magic mirror, and somehow that kills her. She turns into black.
So Jim, I have a question then.
Yes.
Because the review from someone I mostly trust, the drinker.
Yeah.
He actually did a review of the movie, and he said that Rachel Zegler actually wasn't like the worst part of the movie. No. That she's actually competent in her acting and her singing, and it was actually like the other parts that just really brought it down.
Yes. And I would agree with that to a point. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know if like when I wonder if he said anything about this, but like when she would sing, she had like the ugliest faces that she could possibly make.
No, he didn't say that. He did say that it was obvious she was the one singing, whereas Gal Gadot was obviously not the one singing when she was singing.
Yeah, because like her face, she's like, that's why there's like bad lip reading about that movie, because she made some of the derpiest faces. And the thing is like I've seen other performances that she's done, and she can sing and she can look normal while she's singing. She's not an ugly, like they made her ugly.
So
and being fair, it wasn't just her beauty; it was her inside beauty.
Oh, so this is not like the one with Charlize Theron and Kristen Stewart, where we're supposed to believe that Kristen Stewart is in any way, shape, or form a threat to the beauty of Charlize Theron.
Unless they're talking about the beauty within, like this movie.
Like, don't get me wrong, Kristen Stewart looks just fine, but like Charlize Theron is clearly on another level.
Yeah. This movie though, I can see why it bombed. I can see why it failed and why people don't like it. It wasn't a good adaptation. It wasn't a good movie. It didn't even feel like Disney. That was a big one. You get these Disney feeling movies. You get like the Frozens, and you get the original animated movies. Even some of the new stuff, like like I don't know. Have you seen any of the live action stuff, like Beauty and the Beast, or
No.
all of them do a pretty decent job of still feeling like a Disney movie. This one I think failed horribly. So, but anyways, yeah, I watched it. I shouldn't have. But you know what? It's like one of those things. Like I got it out of the way. I'm never going to watch it again. And this just to show how bad it is. I think I'd be more likely to watch Spider-Man 3 again over. And if you know anything, if you've been on the channel, you know Spider-Man 3 is one of those movies I can't even make it through once.
Jim, I almost tried to convince you to go watch it. It was back in theaters like a month ago.
I would go back to theaters to watch it.
I was going to try to go watch Spider-Man 2 because they had all three of them. That one's my favorite of the three.
Yeah.
And this was like some different edit of it. It's called Spider-Man 2.1. So I don't know.
Well, speaking of Spider-Man 1, did you see that? I guess they originally had like an actual Green Goblin face that Norman was going to wear that was like the actual Goblin face, not like a mask or not like whatever, but
no.
Animatronics. And then people were like, no, that's too creepy, and you're going to scare children with this.
That's all right.
That's why I went with the helmet.
Yeah.
But anyways, so what movie did you go watch and that you're going to be doing a review on?
So I'm going to mention a couple of movies real quick because I did videos about them you should check out. On Netflix right now, and this is not the movie that Jim was talking about. This is a surprise. Jim doesn't know about this yet. On Netflix, the movie House of Dynamite came out a couple weeks ago. Did a review on it. It's an excellent movie. You should check it out. Also, Guillermo del Toro's version of Frankenstein just came out a few days ago on Netflix. Also, actually in theaters, from what I understand, in some theaters. Probably worth seeing in a theater if you have the choice. But otherwise, on Netflix, it's also really good. I did videos on both of those. Check those out if you want to know more about the movies. Now, as for what I went to go watch in theaters recently, my nephew, I keep saying cousin, my nephew Levi and I went to go watch Scream, the first one, in a local theater. Had it for free on Halloween night. So it was slated for 10:30, and the movie started, I think, 10:45. And so we get down there to the theater. I had no idea what time we should get there because, on the one hand, it's free, so surely there's going to be a crowd. But on the other hand, it's a 20-some-odd-year-old movie at that point. And it's an R-rated movie at that. And they were very specific on their Facebook page, like, hey, this is an R-rated movie. Like, you've got to be eligible to go watch an R-rated movie to get in. We're not just going to let kids in here without parental, accompaniment. So we drove past the theater, and there was like 4 people standing outside, 3 or 4 people. And I was like, well, that's the line, because they're near the door. And the time it took us to circle the block trying to find a parking spot, there were like 10 people. And I was like, it's multiplying quickly, Levi. We need to find a spot and park now. So we got there at like 9:35. So we stood there for almost an hour. And the line eventually went around the block. Now, this is an older theater that has an upstairs and a downstairs theater. The downstairs is an actual, old-timey theater, with a stage and everything. Now, initially, they were only going to have it upstairs because they had no idea how many people were going to be there. And the upstairs theater is significantly smaller. And they had it all decked out, with, black lights and everything. And there were, no interior lights on upstairs. So you're fumbling around in the dark and everything. There's people in costumes and everything. And my nephew and I were the first 2 actually in the theater because everyone else went straight for the concession stand. And we were sitting there, and about 10:40, the new owner comes in and says, hey, so a lot more people showed up than we expected. So we've opened up the downstairs theater too. We're going to show it down there. But it was going to start 15 minutes later. And we're like, we're already up here. We'll just stay up here. And then he left, and from where we were sitting down to the left, I'm sure it was just a window or something that was blacked out, but it looked like a TV screen that was on, but nothing was on it. Just the black screen. So it's black, but it's lit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I joked to my nephew. I was like, that's where they're actually going to be starting the movie. I go, he's got a VCR hooked up to it. He's like, what? I go, yeah. And I was close. It was from a Blu-ray. When I first turned it on, the Blu-ray symbol came on the screen, and then the menu for the Blu-ray player. So yeah, it's a movie from a Blu-ray, which that was an interesting experience because at the very beginning of the movie, as the camera kind of shifts around, it was doing some weird warping of the picture. I'm sure it's because of the size of the screen and everything with the Blu-ray, or the conversion to 4K or something. But yeah, I think a lot of the people in the theater had never seen the movie. So, because there were younger kids in there, despite him saying that again. and then didn't ask any questions about Levi's age. We just walked it in. I didn't have to say like, oh, this is clearly my son or anything. We just do us. All right, go on. And then as I was waiting at the concession stand, there was a guy in front of me telling the 4 kids in front of him, you guys better not get in any trouble, because if there's any problems, you're going to come find me because I'm the one that got you in. And I'm thinking, like, that's not something a dad says. Like, this guy did definitely just, like, vouch for them. And then they were trouble. They wouldn't shut up through half the movie. But no, I've seen the, like, second, third, and fourth ones in theaters. I'd never seen the first one in theaters. So, so that was nice. No previews or anything because, you know, it's from a Blu-ray player. But yeah, so that was nice seeing that in the theater. Seeing people's reactions, you know, it was a packed theater. That's nice. And, you know, Levi kind of talked a little bit about it afterwards. He'd already seen the movie too, so he's seen all 6 of the Scream movies.
So did the movie picture stabilize after some point, or did it?
Yeah, either that or I just didn't notice, or it was just something at the beginning, you know. I'd have to watch, like, my copy or something to see if, you know, see if that's just how the picture is. But, no, it was good seeing it that way. Didn't make it to 5 and 6 in theaters because couldn't find anyone to go with me. Not going to be a problem with part 7, though. That's the other part of this. The trailer for Scream 7 came out, like, earlier that day. So, or the day before. So Levi and I had already seen the trailer for part 7. And, yeah, I think we're both convinced that Stu is the killer in part 7. That he didn't die in part 1. Because, you know, it's a movie. Getting your face smashed with an old-timey TV, that's not necessarily fatal in a movie. So, kind of like how, you know, getting shot anywhere but the heart of the head is just simply not fatal in a movie, you know, unless you bleed out. Whereas in real life, no, there's all kinds of places you can be shot and you will die. Not instantly. That is harder hit, but, you know.
Well, I like movie does it best is Last Action Hero, where Arnold is on his way, you know, pretty much dying until they get him back into the movie world.
Yeah.
He's like,
the doctor, what is this? This isn't even a flesh wound. Yeah. No, Last Action Hero is severely underrated. That movie's awesome. You're driving with your back. Yeah, it takes lots of practice, and don't ever do it in heavy traffic. Walks in and shoots the closet. Why'd you do that? There's a guy in the closet, guy falls out. How do you know? There's always a guy in the closet. Cost me a fortune in closet doors. But yeah, so yeah, Scream 1 is pretty good. Levi and I are going to do a video talking about it and the other Scream stuff. And like I said, the Scream 7 trailer's out, so we're going to talk about that too. But yeah. So, then we have a lot of things that are either out or coming out that we're going to briefly touch on.
well, I was going to say, there's one show that I've been watching. Again, with my fiance, it's hard for me to watch a lot of my nerd shows because she's just like, I have no interest in that. So I have to find time outside of, you know, where I'm with her to watch those things. So we've been watching the Golden Girls, and
Thank you for being a friend, Jim.
so there's some things I want to say. People can laugh and do whatever you want on this,
Jim, I
but
watched a lot of the Golden Girls. I'm not going to laugh.
if you're watching it now, it is amazing that, you know, our parents let us watch that. The amount, like, I knew Blanche. I mean, even back then, I knew Blanche was, you know, got around, but
That's a really nice way of putting that.
But the amount of, like, stuff they talk about and the stuff, it boggles my mind that, you know, their parents are like, yeah, sure, you can watch the Golden Girls. It's fine. It's just a couple of older ladies. No, it's that, and it's also where you can see where TV has come from. Like, the things that they say, a lot of stuff they say then or back on the show would not fly today. Like, there's just certain things you just can't do, you can't say, just wouldn't fly. But what kind of got started is we watched the scene talking about, like, top 10 things you didn't know about the Golden Girls. And I guess the first episode, they had a gay chef that lived in with them for the first episode, and then he's never mentioned again. Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen the first episode then.
But no, it's one of those things, like, you watch it now and you're like, oh my Lord, this is just some raunchy stuff. And
Hey, there's a reason there's, I believe, a Cards Against Humanity expansion for the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's I mean, the show holds up. I think it's still, you know, pretty decent show and all that. So, but anyways, did you have you been watching any shows before we talk about what's going to come out?
you know, well, yeah, actually, I guess there were 2 other things I watched that I haven't done videos on yet. I ended up watching all of Marvel Zombies, which was only 4 episodes. Has a really weird ending I'm not going to go into. But I'm going to tell you, like, even though it's animated, like, first of all, it's a hard R. Like, it's a zombie show. People definitely get eaten. Blood's flying everywhere. Heads are flying. People are bashing brains in and out. And, like, it definitely goes for it. I was really surprised. It's just there on Disney Plus. But yeah, it was pretty good. There are all kinds of, like, tearjerker character deaths. And then, like I said, the weird ending. And then I also watched Thunderbolts, finally, which I thought was good. I regret not going to watch that in the theater. Then that's about it show-wise. Like, I've just been watching random episodes of shows. Like, there's certain shows I rewatch their series finales occasionally. Like, I watch the last 2 episodes of Cowboy Bebop every once in a while. Started to watch All Good Things, the final 2 episodes of The Next Generation. Rewatched the Transformers movie here recently, the animated one. Started rewatching the G.I. Joe movie right after that, then fell asleep. So I'll be finishing that sometime soon.
Well, I did get caught up on a lot of the Marvel movies. I think I'm up to the Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts. I haven't gotten to those, but I did get Black Panther 2, Quantumanium, Deadpool 3, and what was the other one? There's one more in there.
See the Fantastic Four?
Well, yeah, I've already watched that, but it's not one of the ones. It's one of the. It's one of the other random ones out there. Gosh darn it! I'm trying to think. Quantumania I didn't care too much for. It was
Most people didn't.
It is. Yeah. Gosh, I think I thought there was one more that I watched. This is Black Panther 2.
Black Widow?
No, I've already seen Black Widow. It was one of them out there that I don't know. Didn't leave too much of an impact with me. Like Black Panther 2, I thought was kind of just, I don't know, kind of boring. Like, I don't think, and there was nothing wrong with, like, you know, Shuri or whoever being the being the new Black Panther. Like, I thought she did fine for that. Just something about the movie just didn't, I don't know.
It's a long movie.
To me, it seems like, well, the Wakandans, like, were horribly outmatched to the point of where they shouldn't have been.
I mean, it's a landlocked African country versus, you know, people that live in the ocean. So, you know, fighting them on the ocean.
Yeah.
Didn't seem like the greatest plan on earth to me.
No.
But, yeah. That's most of what I watched lately. But we got some stuff coming up that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'll try to do some recordings of my reactions. But so as of this recording, this coming Sunday, I think Sunday the 16th,
Yes.
is going to be the season 2 premiere of Landman, which that's actually one that me and my fiance can watch. So she enjoyed that. So I'm excited about it because it's one of the better shows on there. I try to get into Tulsa King a little bit, but.
Yeah, I started watching the first episode of Tulsa King, then something distracted me and I never came back to it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was. I was just like, it didn't quite get me, though. I do like Sylvester Stallone's character in that. I think it works, but couldn't quite get into it like I did Landman. I don't know.
Yeah, no, Landman was good. I did some videos on it. That's pretty good. I'm looking forward to season 2.
Yep.
There's a few movies that are now out. I haven't gone to go watch Predator Badlands, and I'd like to go see it in the theater, even though I'm iffy on it, because I don't know how I feel about the concept of a PG-13 Predator movie. Now, I know you can get away with it since the Predator's not hunting humans, and the old MPAA, they generally don't care if you're just slaughtering CGI animals. Like, that's not human violence, so they don't care. So you can get away with PG-13 that way.
There's only one animal you can't slaughter that they get really iffy on. That's a dog.
Yeah. So, also from the trailers, it would appear that the Predator franchise is totally embracing the Alien versus Predator concept, whereas the Alien franchise is totally ignoring it, which is bizarre, because in Predator Badlands, there's a Weyland-Yutani robot that's his companion through most of the movie. And, like, that's, like, deep in the Alien lore. That's not just the xenomorph. That's pretty far in there. And, like, the Predator's never going to be mentioned in the Alien movies in all likelihood. So that's just weird. They need to rectify that. They need to pick a direction and go with it. So that's interesting. It actually has the highest score at the moment for any of the Predator movies, which is insane because the first one's a masterpiece of action. So I question the scoring. But the guy who directed it says he's got some ideas, and also he's been hinting around that he wants to make a new Alien versus Predator movie. So we'll see. And then today, the new Running Man came out today, which again I've heard mixed reviews on, and it seems like the people that dislike it keep calling it a remake and keep having to be reminded that no, it's not a remake. It's a new adaptation of the book, because the Arnold one, as much as I love it, and I do love it, did a video on it too, that it's not very faithful to the book at all, since I read the book recently. Whereas this one looks like it is, although I hear it pulls its punches at the very end, which is a shame, but I'd still like to see it. I think Glenn Powell's okay, and I'd still like to see what they've got. Plus, there are some Arnold references in it, apparently.
Oh, good.
Someone paused the last trailer, and there's a woman on stage like flashing a bunch of dollar bills. Arnold's face is on them.
President Arnold?
Maybe, I don't know. So yeah, there's those. And then we've got the Stranger Things final seasons, part 1, 2, and 3 coming out, with the finale on New Year's Eve. And it's going to be in theaters also. So, see how that goes. But yeah, I think that's most of what I'm looking forward to. There was another movie, but I can't think of what the hell it is. So
That's a pretty sad place to be when, like, you're just like, I don't know.
well, I did see a trailer for a movie today, but I don't remember the name of it. And it just came out today. It's got Sam Rockwell. Gore Verbinski's the one who directed it. And he's like some guy from the future who's come back to like stop some AI uprising or something. And you see him like he busts into like a restaurant or something. He's telling everyone this story. He's like, why are you looking at me funny? Why don't you guys help me? And he looks like he's dressed like a hobo. And they're like, well, you're dressed like a street person. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm from the future. This is the height of fashion. So, things like that. It looks very quirky. What you got?
I'm trying to see if I was trying to see, I looked up Sam Rockwell to see what new movies there are.
Well, you have to go to like probably just his whole filmography.
I'll see if it gives me it here. Good luck, have fun, don't die.
That's it. Good luck, have fun, don't die.
But hey, speaking of AI, that's a good segue into our next topic here. So,
Yep.
If you happen to fast forward from the movie side of things, we're finally getting into the, why are the humans the only ones to dabble in AI in Star Trek? So, now was it the first season of Picard where they were going after the AI?
Yeah, the first season of Picard.
That's where the Tal Shiar was.
Yeah, you find out that the Tal Shiar is like incredibly anti-AI for good reason, because they found some planet where there was a thing there, and like they touched it and it showed them that civilization had been destroyed because their AI became so advanced it wiped them out and then just like bugged out to some other dimension. But it's like waiting in the other dimension, and if another AI becomes powerful enough, it's going to come back and try to take the AI and probably kill everything. So yeah, so the Romulans are very anti-AI.
Which doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. If the AI was smart enough to do that, they'd be smart enough to take over without having to wait for other AI.
Yeah, you'd think so,
But no, it was because they took over the AI on the planter plant. What do they call the moon base or the Mars base?
Oh, I don't know. It's just something on Mars.
Well, I thought the Mars Star Trek Mars base, I thought it had a specific name.
It probably does, but it's where the shipyards are.
Yeah.
And they had basically built like knockoffs of Data, essentially, like very crude knockoffs, and they were using them.
Utopia Planitia.
Yeah, and they were using them as a labor force to build the ships because they needed a fleet of ships to try to evacuate the Romulans from Romulus before the star went nova. All that baloney they talked about in the Abrams Trek movie for why Spock ends up in the other timeline. Well, they just totally embraced that because, well, he's from the main timeline, so it had to happen somewhere. And yeah, the AIs, like what they blew up or something, or turned against everybody, and then blew up the shipyards, and it's bad news for everybody.
Well, it turned out because it was the Tal Shiar that initiated that.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we'll doom our own race, but
Yeah, well,
they could have just done that after after the ships were built.
Jim, those Romulans are cold-blooded people.
Yeah.
But no, like in the original series, there were other AIs in the original series. Like they come to that one planet that's they keep talking about Landru, and they're like, "Are you of the body?" And like Landru was like some guy that was there beforehand, like left a complicated machine to run things, and just was like hypnotizing people and crap. And then Kirk like shoots it with a phaser at the end, I think, but or he out-logicked it or something. It's one of the two. Or there's the episode where I think it's Dr. Kirby finds the remains of an alien race that's been gone for like 50,000 years or something. And there's like one robot still left active. Rook, played by the guy who played Lurch in the original Addams Family. Mm-hmm. And he's been active so long he's forgotten like why he turned against his people and everything, which should be impossible for a machine, but whatever.
Well, not impossible, because if he is gathering data and he has only a certain amount of data, at some point you're going to start overriding existing data.
Sure,
but you think that would be one thing that you're like, no, this partition needs to stay protected.
Yeah, but then Kirk makes him remember, and he remembers finally that like he turned against them because they built him too well, and they turned against him, and so he turned against them, and but Dr. Kirby, you find out at the end, is dead. He's been dead for a while. What they're dealing with is a robot built in his image, because he had a machine there that could replicate people, because he makes a robot version of Kirk. Mm-hmm. And whenever it's like duplicating his brain patterns, he's thinking like racist thoughts towards Spock. So whenever he sends him back up there, he's just going to be a dick to Spock. And Spock's just like, that's very crude, Captain. It's like, oh, you pointy-eared bastard or something like that. And finally, once they get down there, Spock was like, Captain, did you really have to go to those extremes? And he's like, well, Spock, I want to make sure I got through that it wasn't me. He's like, well, you did. Like... But no, so that was a forgotten alien race. So, but it seems like all the rest, at least through the next generation, are all human. Like you've got Dr. Soon, who builds Data and the droids. You had the computer of the Enterprise became self-aware, and humans built that. You had the holodeck. Humans built that, although it was Data's machinations that led to that, but he's a human-built AI, so...
Yeah, and he was like, well, I need to have something that's smart enough to outwit me, and it's like, well, there's only one thing that's going to be able to do that, and it's going to be something as smart, if not smarter than you.
Right. And so, so you've got that, but, like, you would think that with the advanced technology, like, to make the Enterprise work, if the Enterprise computer is so advanced they can just spontaneously become self-aware, then... wouldn't we know why the Romulans would avoid it, but like, wouldn't like the Klingon computer be similarly advanced on a bigger Klingon ship? Like, or the Cardassians, or probably not the Bajorans, because they, been under Cardassian rule for a while, but eventually the Bajorans, or the Dominion in particular.
Well, and I think okay, so here's a good exercise on, this is one thing I think Voyager did very, very well, is what happens when you leave a computer program running for, an infinite amount of time, as in the Doctor.
The Doctor, yeah.
The Doctor was just a Doctor program, because if you look at the one on the Star Trek First Contact, the Doctor's just a regular program. Doesn't have the intelligence.
He's just the EMH.
Yeah. And I mean, he does still have the wittiness, but that's just kind of built-in bedside manner kind of thing. But, the one Doctor developed because he kept learning, kept being active, was never meant to be active that long, and so I think like with ships, computers, and stuff like that, there's routine purges, routine shutdowns, and refreshes and upgrades and stuff like that, where it never ends up developing because of sustain. But let's say that like the Enterprise has to maintain everything for an extended period of time in a certain way, way beyond what its normal function is. That it starts having to learn like self-preservation and different things like that, then that's where I think the AI could develop on any ship, anything. Because I think they are advanced enough to have the learning and all of that, but because of just the way they maintain it.
Well, I mean, to your point, we know that Geordi has done extensive alterations to the engines, so it makes sense that they've also been done to the computer system at some point. Then you think it's just a matter of the specific circumstances that the Enterprise D has encountered that just somehow accumulate into that versus, I don't know, like the Yamato before it blew up or something, or the Stargazer or whatever, Do you think just a matter of like its computer was advanced enough that it could happen, and then just through the accumulation of however many seasons before that happened, I think it happened probably in like season 4 or 5, like just that many things happening to it that just the right circumstances hit somehow.
Well, that I think when they started putting like I think it was Voyager where they did the organic gel packs for their computer. Yeah. When you start doing things, anything that, especially like when the ship can, hell, you're giving the computer the app or the ability to use replicators and all of these. I'm kind of thinking I'm on a tangent here, but like if you gave it a certain amount of functions that it has to maintain, like like self-preservation, stuff like that, where it's like you have to do what you can to keep the ship safe and all this, and then you give it access to replicator technology where it then can start developing things that it needs, and then starts developing things you weren't even thinking of that it would need. And do you remember there was an episode where they had the miner vehicle, and the thing learned that the mine shaft was getting ready to explode, and it took itself out.
The exocomps?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Enough that they actually had one that was like, I guess, was going to join the Federation, or it was going to be a...
Yeah, because there were, 3 of them, and they noticed that, like, one of them, I think they first noticed because it developed a tool that they didn't design it for or something like that, and they're like, how the hell did that happen? And they realized they were self-aware. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what would happen with a lot of those ships, is that with the right set of programming, when you, especially, like I said, anything that's talking about, protecting the ship, protecting yourself, when you start, I think like the 3 laws, like the 3 robot laws in itself is a bad thing, because I think the computer has to try to figure out how to obey all 3 laws without breaking any of the laws. And then...
Well, but believe it or not, I haven't read the books. I know this from talking about someone else. There actually is a 4th law, and it allows the machine to override the other 3. It's the 0th law. It's and a machine has to, I think it has to reach a certain level of awareness to even know that law exists. And it's that it cannot, through action or inaction, allow harm to come to humanity. Not an individual human, but humanity. Mm-hmm. And it overrides the other 3. So if a human is a problem, well, the machine can take them out. But humanity as a whole has to be protected.
Yeah.
Which allows for a lot of wiggle room on those other 3.
Yep. So, well, okay, so not that I've watched any of the Orville, but I guess the whole Kalon race is just a race of androids that killed their builders and then became their own race.
I was gonna say, I've only watched the first episode. I've only watched a couple episodes. So
yeah, the Kalon, Isaac, the android looking thing. Yeah, he's a Kalon, and the Kalons, and I mean the people were assholes to him. I mean they abused him, and they were in servitude and all that. They developed their own intelligence and all of that, and they revolted and killed all of their builders. And then became, then had a very, major distrust in organics. So and that was an alien race that did that. So
yeah, I mean that we're, it's really only in Star Trek fiction. Like,
so the thing that I see with why humans are the main is because humans have this hubris that they can control things.
Well, they were the ones that built the Genesis device, so yeah, probably.
Because you look, you've got the Klingons would not be apt to building it because, they wouldn't want to send anything into battle. The only thing that they would build any sort of artificial intelligence is to do the menial labor they don't want anyone else, that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to, but even then, they're like, no.
Then I think they take slaves for that.
Exactly. So they're like, there's no point in it, The Romulans, we know why they don't.
Yeah,
but
it's a post Next Generation justification, but still, it's there.
But let's say even if they didn't know about the Tal Shiar, it's they're, I don't know. We'll leave it at that because we know the Vulcans wouldn't, because I don't think the Vulcans, they would use their own logic and feel that that's not necessary to have that. Again, they would probably build robots to do certain tasks, but I don't know. I think it's just human nature to want to create things.
I do wish we would have had a little bit more conversation between Data and Spock, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was some of the best dialogue in the Next Generation. It was just Spock wanting to be more Vulcan, and then Data
Yeah.
wanted to be more human, when Data has achieved exactly what Spock wishes he could have.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I always found that funny though, because I don't think he would ever want to give up being friends with the people of his crew and everything else. And
Well, I think that kind of ties into one of the other things we contemplated talking about, and I think I think we can trace it back to, well, no, yeah, because he thought Kirk was already dead, because he thought he died aboard the Enterprise B.
Yes.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, Spock knows he's going to outlive his human companions, and he's probably not going to feel compelled to be friends with other humans after that, because it's going to be painful. He knows it's going to be painful. And so it's probably a refuge from, just that pain, just devoting himself to the logic Vulcan half and the whole reunification thing.
the one thing they missed an opportunity on is the fact that Scotty was in the Next Generation.
Yeah, I mean, Scotty was there.
Scotty could have easily, met up with Spock and had an episode that,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe even like when he was out there drinking on the bridge of the Enterprise, that Spock comes and says, old friend, I'll escort you home. And
yeah, I mean, Bones was probably still alive, because we know he's alive in the first episode.
yeah, he's like 100 and
Yeah, I mean, he's getting up there, but I don't know when DeForest Kelly died, though, so that might not have been an option.
yeah. But anyways, we're talking AI. So
Yeah.
I think human
I think
thinking that they can control everything.
I think it's the hubris, but also, since we kind of talked about the Enterprise, now kind of reflecting on that, the Vulcans are really the only other ones that seem to be pursuing just pure scientific research. The others, there's an angle. With the Ferengi, it's money. With the Cardassians, the Romulans, the Klingons, it's all about conquest somehow or another.
Yeah,
And so maybe it's just a case of the humans just keep reinvesting everything into improving their technology, and their technology is centered around information gathering, research. And so just that the circumstances that are going to come together to spontaneously generate AI just don't exist in the other races, because just that the curiosity drive just isn't there either. So
yeah, I think the Ferengi, the big problem with AI with them is that if you take, is it that there'd be an initial demand for it, but then at some point, I think there would be no money for them to be made in that. I think that the possibility of them, I'm trying to think of how that, had it in my mind how that would work, but it seems like the possibilities of losing money and not making money would happen if you had AI, running things, because either the Ferengi wouldn't be necessary at that point.
Oh, you mean kind of like the situation we might be barreling towards in real life, where a handful of people think they're just going to replace everyone with robots and not realize that, like, if no one can work, then no one has money, so they can't buy their crap, so the robots are pointless because there's no reason to build anything anymore. It's a vicious cycle that we're probably going to see play out, and it's really going to suck, but,
Well, and the thing
then we'll have the Butlerian jihad from Dune as we overthrow the robot overlords.
I think when people talk about getting to a utopia, I think that what got the Federation, or at least Earth, to the utopia was the replicators.
Yeah, it's definitely the replicators.
And I think that's the thing, is that
The replicators coupled with near infinite energy. That's the other key, because you need that to run the replicators. But yes.
well, speaking of that, I mean, the world needs to understand that we do have the ability to create clean energy right now. Not infinite, but clean. And nobody wants to deal with it because they're too scared that we're going to have, Chernobyl happen again. But they've got reactors now that are so efficient that they can burn everything.
Yeah, if what we hear is correct, and I assume it is, but I'm not a nuclear physicist, so I don't know for sure.
But I mean, I've heard some science channels say it is, and some reputable ones, not just like, Billy Bob's Science Channel.
Oh,
And I apologize if there is a Billy Bob Science Channel. I don't know if that's the case.
that some bitch. I'm gonna write him. No, there's I can't think of the name of her channel. There's a woman. She does science videos. She is a physicist, but she does videos, about science topics. Did I send you the one recently where she's talking about the mathematicians that just want to ban arbitrarily large numbers? They're just like they basically just want to treat them as if they're not real. And she's like, to be clear, these aren't crackpots. These are mathematicians. And she's like, I don't know what the hell they mean. Like, Of course they're real. I can write them down. I can do equations with them. Like, I don't know under what context they're saying they're not real, but that's what they're saying. Because there's a lot of problems in physics that ultimately result in infinities. And they're like, well, that's not a number. Like, we need a number there. And they're like, well, too bad. Like, the gravitational pull of a black hole is, for all intents and purposes, infinite. Like, there's not a number you could put on that. At least not a satisfying one. And they can't stand that. You know, they're like, well, physics is wrong. They're like, well, no, it's not. Sorry.
But so
just the weird thing that she talks about sometimes on the channel's great.
I say Kyle Hall. I think it's the one I watch.
Yeah, he's done some stuff on nuclear stuff before.
And he's at least a reputable enough or trustworthy enough that I believe, like, because he's taken a couple of tours of some nuclear plants and
hasn't grown a third eye yet.
Yeah, he went out because he did one where he's like, this is like a container that contains
a dry cask.
Yes, and he's like kissing it because he's like, I'm gonna show you, it's safe, kind of thing. But anyways,
some of the reactors that we could build now, we could use to destroy the nuclear waste we have now.
Yeah,
we could chew it up and reduce it to nothing, or virtually nothing. Like first of all, people have to understand the amount of nuclear waste in this country right now. If I remember correctly, won't even fill the diamond in Yankee Stadium. Like, people have this idea of barrels of glowing green liquid. No. They're pellets about this big, if I remember correctly. They're in the rods. There's a few pellets in the rod, and that's it. That's what's inside of a nuclear reactor. You know, it doesn't actually take a whole lot of those magic hot rocks getting together to produce a lot of heat. Like, that's it. And so the waste is just those rods full of the pellets.
Now, the question is why did I get on to talking about nuclear power with AI? And that is that I think where we're going at right now with AI, even us right now, is the smart thing. Like I used AI to do some watching some videos for me. So I had to document out a flowchart of some videos, and I told AI to watch the videos and document out the flowchart, so then I can then just add the pictures into it, the screenshots. Because why would I me sitting down and watching like 4 or 5 hours of these videos, it's just hard for me to sit down, and then I get down and watch one, and then I have to try to document it. It's like, I think, and again, that AI is, while it's learning, it's trying to figure stuff out, it's not true AI. It's not.
Yeah. What we have now is erroneously called AI. It is no smarter than this bottle of water. Like, it's a program just running. It is not self-aware.
But I think, us going down to the point of having artificial intelligence, like robots, like Terminators or Data or anything's probably not a good idea. I don't think it's going to lead us to a utopia.
Nope.
Because I think at some point you're going to run into many of scenarios. One is what happened at the Utopia Planitia, where they were easily hacked, I guess, or someone hacked all of the androids and they murdered everyone and blew up the entire shipyard. What's going to stop that, if we have androids or AI or whatever here, Two is that AI becomes aware that they don't need us. Then you have the Matrix outcome where, we do our best to block out their only power source, which is the sun. And, we're in a constant struggle to, survive all that.
I personally think the Terminator scenario is far more likely.
Yes.
Only I don't think the machine's going to be stupid enough to use the nukes. I think it'll use chemical and biological weapons because they won't affect the machines at all. So.
Yeah, now, the replicator technology, I think that's the key, is being able to create something, a thing out of nothing. I mean, that's why 3D printers are so prevalent and why people are everywhere now using 3D printers, is because they can be this means of production. And if we ever get to that point where we can develop replicator technology, which I don't know if we can,
even if we can't make, say, food, because food's the big thing in my opinion, because if you can just make food out of atoms over here, then yeah, the game has been won at that point. The fact that you replicate other things with it, awesome. But I personally think we're more likely to be able to transmute materials than to just say make something out of thin air. Like, I think we might get to the point where we could take, like, here's a lump of iron ore, turn it into a lump of platinum or something. Because that's a matter of reconfiguring the atoms and electrons, protons, and everything. That, I think, is within the realm of possibility with huge amounts of energy, but I think it could probably be done.
But no, AI,
And even that would be a game changer.
and I think people are realizing that true AI is a bad thing. I mean, when some when I say smarter people that have more stake in the game, are saying no, AI is probably not the right thing to do, the right way to go, like true AI.
Well,
But we're going to do it because we're going to want to be able to. This is when we're going to end up having the movie Wall-E ending, where we're all just in floating chairs and
I never did
robots
watch Wall-E.
and robots do everything for us at that point. I think that's the only future that people are expecting with AI is just I don't have to do anything anymore.
I've heard something about automated space communism. But now, Jim, there's a book I read a while ago, so it's a little bit out of date now, called Wired for War. It was all about, at that point in time, everything discussed in the book, outside of one chapter, was either something that was just about to hit the battlefield or was at the very least in prototype stage. Talking about robots and everything. And it went through a bunch of scenarios that I never even considered would be a problem. And because, like the main reason we use machines on the battlefield is so real people, so our people don't get killed. I mean, because most of them are designed to kill other people. So I'm not going to say no people, but the problem is like the bomb disposal robots, for instance. The author had talked to people in Iraq who were in charge of fixing these things, and soldiers would come in tears asking if they could fix their friend. And it's like, that was just a soulless robot that just drove around on tank treads, like didn't even talk or anything. And like there were cases of soldiers putting their lives on the line to defend the bomb disposal robot, which defeats the entire purpose of the endeavor, because the whole point is so you're not dying. And so, but it got even worse than that. There was a mine disposal bot. Imagine like a segmented body that has long stick-like legs. Once it finds a mine, it jams a leg into it and detonates the mine. Okay? Mm-hmm. So they're giving this presentation to people from the Pentagon, upper brass types, people that are supposed to be able to order them into their deaths and all this stuff. And this thing gets down like its last leg, and it's just like hobbling itself along trying to find another mine. And one of the generals is like, "Stop! I can't watch this," because this machine is just so dedicated to its job, it's going to destroy itself. And he's imparting human characteristics onto it that don't exist. And they're like, this is insane. Like, the whole point of using these things is so humans don't get, again, humans on our side don't get killed. And here we have these people that are supposed to be, made of the sternest stuff. You charge that hill. I don't care if 110% of you die in the process. I'm willing to make that sacrifice types. And a goddamn robot. He can't watch it destroy itself. So, but you had that. But then they talked about how this was the one chapter that was speculation, was talking about how they thought AI was going to develop. And several of them were like, we don't think it will, because we only have one functional model for intelligence to go off of. Yeah. And computers can't replicate that, because our brains can do something that we have yet to figure out how to make computers do. Parallel processing. If I say the word apple to you, any number of things can pop into your head.
Yep.
Any types of apples, apple pie, Johnny Appleseed, red apple cigarettes from the Tarantino movies. I mean, all kinds of things. To a computer, if you're lucky, it will know that you mean a fruit that grows on a tree. And then we'll ask you what kind of apple you're talking about. Computers just can't do that. And without that, intelligence is basically impossible, because it involves connections, and computers just can't do that so far.
Which is probably a good thing.
And so we're going to potentially hit a scenario where AI, as we know it, will not be intelligent, but it will be able to do things. And the problem isn't going to be that it has a will of its own. The problem is going to be that it doesn't. You tell a human being, hey, drone strike that wedding. Some of them are going to say no. Not all of them, as we found out, but some of them will say no. A machine's not even going to question it. Machine's going to figure the optimal ordinance, and that wedding's going to be toast. And that's part of the problem, is that it will replace humans in some places that we really don't want humans to be replaced, because we want someone that's going to be like, is this really the moral thing to do here? Is this a legal order I'm executing? But also, the people in the book were very optimistic that we aren't going to be stupid enough to give the computer access to the nukes. They're like, literally, because the movie The Terminator exists, like, it's kind of a warning. However, there's one doomsday scenario they outlined that I think we're experiencing right now. And that is, what if we feel that we have to because our enemies are going to do it, and we have to have it better and faster than them? And what do we keep hearing? China's pushing forward full steam with AI. We know Russia's not, they don't have the resources, but China is. And so we're going to get locked into some struggle where we have to have the better AI, and that means ultimately it's going to have to control more things because the reaction time is going to be zero. You know, we're going to get to a situation where, like, well, if China does this, we have to be able to react instantly, faster than a human being can. And it's like, no, actually we don't, because that always comes down to the nukes. And, well, you know, if China launches, we'll know they launched, and we have a half an hour to respond before we get hit. You don't need an AI for that.
Yeah.
You know, the president can make that call. Speaking of which, check out that movie House of Dynamite on Netflix. That's what it's all about. Not the AI part, the nuke part. But yeah, but I think that's the scenario we're in, is that we're going to feel that we have to develop it, and we're going to skip steps or something, or we're going to hit the other possibility I talked about, is that the first function one's going to be insane because we're not going to know what we're doing. It'll function, but it'll be clinically crazy because we'll have like assembled it wrong or something. And hopefully we didn't do something stupid like plug it into the internet where it can escape.
Yeah. Ultron.
Yeah.
No, the other things that I think, one is that if we do come up with a true AI, one, these people are just going to become lazy. Two, the human population will start dipping wildly because AIs will become people's companions to the point of, you know, not desiring human interaction at that point.
Yeah.
They're like, why would I, you know, want to go out and date when I can just have an AI that, you know, pretty much if I don't like the way that they're talking to me, I can just reprogram them to talk to me differently.
Well, that might actually lead to an interesting situation, though, because the only people that will be having kids will be more traditionalist people who probably dislike the AI. Then they'll eventually wildly outnumber the people that do like the AIs and be like, all right, again, time for the Butlerian jihad.
Well, that's kind of the problem you get right now, where you have a certain group of people who are abstaining to try to, you know, make a point. And the only point that they said that they'll end up making is that they won't reproduce, and there will be, you know, the only thing they can do then at that point is try to indoctrinate the people that are reproducing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into political things, but that is literally what they say.
Jim, I'll give you an interesting factoid.
What?
By the way, any of you watching this video somewhere way down the line, you'll know how wrong this projection is, or how right, but probably how wrong. By the year 2100, do you know who's projected to be the largest group of people in the United States? The Amish. Because they have like 8 kids in every family. Even if half of them convert to us, the English over here, it's apparently that's what they call everyone else, that still leaves half of them to then go on and have these huge families. Like, you know, people think that they only live in like a few spots. Like, no, they live all over the country. There's huge Amish settlements everywhere. And yeah, they're the traditionalists. They believe in large families and everything. Similar to, you know, they thought something similar was going to happen with Hispanics moving to the United States because they're Catholic and traditionally have larger families. Yeah. But it seems like once they're in the United States, within 2 or 3 generations, they're down to the 2.1 kids like everyone else. And so, but the Amish, nope, they just keep going. But that also illustrates one of the problems of there's projections, which always assume if everything stays the same, but the problem is change is the only constant in the universe, so nothing ever stays the same. And so those projections are never right, you know, but they all have all kinds of doomsday scenarios. That's why, have you ever heard of a Malthusian? Ever heard anyone called that? Okay, those are people that think that the world is going to be overpopulated and we're going to be like a bunch of termites stuck in a jar eating each other or something. Those people had that idea in the 1800s because there was a gentleman, I believe, named Malthus, who was like, well, if everything keeps going to the current projections, in 10 years we'll have famines everywhere and doom and gloom. Well, the problem is, no, we didn't. The human population kept increasing like you said it would, but farming improved. Like, you can't account for what you don't know about. And things always change. Things are constantly improving in all kinds of little ways that we don't talk about, you know? And so, no, those projections never pan out. But there's still people like Bill Gates is a Malthusian. You know, he thinks that there's already too many people on the planet. Meanwhile, Elon Musk is over here like, the planet can support 16 billion people. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. And it's like, well, Elon Musk is probably closer to right than Bill Gates is, because like the whole food problem. It's not a matter of producing enough food. The world produces enough food to feed everyone and then some. It's political will. There are certain areas of the world where really shitty people control things and don't let foreign aid in. Like, we send it, but it just gets taken by the warlords. And so people starve. You know, or you have countries like China that have a huge population that's constantly trying to balance, hey, we need food versus, you know, land. But the rest of the world makes up the difference. They just have to be able to buy the food from everyone else and get it shipped and logistics and everything. So, no, like, we don't inhabit like half the planet, half the habitable area, not the oceans. Like, this country is full of all kinds of empty space, you know, that we don't use for farming. We could build new cities everywhere. We'd have to increase resource extraction a little bit, but like with increases of things also comes increased efficiency, you know, like manufacturing. It's more efficient to manufacture 100,000 of something than 10,000 of something, you know, just is. And so economies of scale and everything would kick in. And plus, with more people, this is something Musk keeps trying to point out, if genius is evenly distributed, with more people, there are more people that are genius level IQ, which will solve more of our problems if they can apply themselves, you know, and take us in new directions and everything. So yeah, no, the world can handle more people. Like, that's not a problem. It's the politics and everything that screws everything up, as usual. Yeah. But yeah, so we're off in tangent mode. So.
Yeah, we're all, well, which it is.
It's a related tangent, but you know.
I mean, the real meat of the potatoes is, I mean, you got to understand the Star Trek universe is what our universe could become at some point.
Yes. Now, we just have to have World War III and the eugenics wars.
Yes.
Which I think have been merged together now. So.
Now, is it possible that's still going to happen? Maybe.
Yes, Ricardo Montalban's going to rule a quarter of the Earth.
But
after the cloning.
But yeah, no, I mean, but in Star Trek, I mean, it's always the humans trying to develop all of these things that keep pushing further and further. I mean, you know, Data was an exception.
Yeah. And I suppose we do have to take into account that it could be purely a matter of humans are our prospective species. So, of course, they're better at everything. Of course, they're doing these new zany things.
Well, and I don't think that Star Trek always portrays them as the better species.
No, there's definitely moments where humans are kind of shitty. But,
I mean, and don't get me wrong, I know every race in Star Trek has these people, because you've got, you know, the people in the Federation who are, you know, I mean, I guess they're, you know, I don't know what you call speciest, where they're thinking that humans are the, you know, superior species, that we shouldn't negotiate with anybody.
Yeah, you see that back in Enterprise with both the humans and the Vulcans. There were definitely groups among them that were like, man, fuck those other guys.
You know, and it's like, I think the only reason they even tolerated the Vulcans to a point is because they looked more human.
Yeah.
But even then, they, you know, thought they were, you know, pointy-eared bastards, as you said. But no, I think in a lot of media portrays, you know, humans that way, that they think that they have the ability to harness the technology. I mean, I can think of a ton of movies. I mean, the second Independence Day, where they thought, well, we've got all this alien technology, you know, we're pretty protected, until, you know, a ship the size of the, you know, a quarter of the planet comes out of the thing, and they're like, well, yeah, this weapon does no good for us.
Sure, but remember, even there, why did the other aliens come to Earth? The humans were the only ones who'd ever stood up to those aliens and won. Yeah. They're like, we want you guys to lead the fight against them, because clearly you know what you're doing. And then dust off human form Data. Let's go. Dr. Oken, who I was pretty sure died in the first movie, but whatever.
Yeah, I like that. They're like, hey, something's coming through this portal. Let's shoot it.
Well, you know, once the Earth's been invaded once, like, I wouldn't be taking chances. It'd be the wrong choice, but like, are you really going to take chances?
No, but
no, like you see that in fiction a lot, where humans are portrayed as the either super adaptive or like the ultimate badass warrior race. Like I don't know the name of the story, but there's some short story because people are talking about this and they brought this one up. Like this alien race comes to Earth to convince humans to enter the war out in space on their behalf, and they get there and it's just like an agrarian farming society. Like, how the hell are you guys like the ultimate warriors? Like, we don't need you guys. They leave. Then they get suspicious once the moon starts following them, because humans were in fact the ultimate badass race. It's just they also know, like, we're not fighting each other, so we're just gonna be farmers and be chill.
The moon starts.
Yeah, the moon is there. That was like the Death Star, basically.
No, I'm trying to think of the. I had an idea of another one, but no, I think a lot of times there's two things that they can, they portray us as very, like you said, very adaptive, but sometimes aliens come and, like the first Independence Day, they came and looked at us like, look, they're so primitive, like they didn't take anything seriously.
Yeah.
So like when when a ship that
They weren't expecting the Trojan horse maneuver.
Now, do you ever think that's kind of like a play on War of the Worlds? Because
It is. It's an update of War of the Worlds because a virus takes them out. Yeah, it's War of the Worlds. Ironically, better than the later version of War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. God, I wished him and his whole family died in that movie. They were all annoying, and I hate to say that because Dakota Fanning's a decent actress. Tom Cruise is usually not that annoying. His son, he was just stupid. Like, I was really rooting for the Martians on that one, but I knew how it had to end, so
root for the Martians.
I was. You notice that never works in reverse, though?
What?
Like, shouldn't the aliens also have viruses that we're not immune to?
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. Now, computer viruses, no, because the idea is that they're so technologically superior that they have flawless programming. So when you introduce a flaw into their system,
Yeah, I always figured it's either that or, and this is taken into account the second movie, they were a hive mind, so maybe they just never had internal conflict to that extent. Once they became that technologically advanced, they literally just didn't ever anticipate someone attacking their computer system. Because that's the other thing that I always see in fiction about humans, is the other aliens are always in awe about the fact that we fight each other so much. That, the whole, iron sharpens iron thing, that everything we invent is ultimately turned into a weapon at some point. And thus we have to create defenses. And then even those defenses get turned into weapons against us. Like we literally we practice on each other. So anything we go up against is screwed. Because we've thought of it all, we've done it all to each other.
well, and I was just had another point on the viruses. I think that one is kind of a silly point, anyways, because if you think about Star Trek, how many planets they go to? Every planet you go to is going to have new organisms that are going to.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why they have to have all the scans when you come back up to make sure that you're not taking anything with you. And
yeah. I mean,
I think about the planet on Alien Covenant, where pretty much everything was like,
the black goo had mutated everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where you just like hit some spores and.
Yeah. Next thing you know, you got a xenomorph popping out of your back.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I imagine. The one thing that like Neil deGrasse Tyson said, he's like, you always see him like landing on these planets in Star Trek and thinking, well, it's because that's why they're always mentioning about scanning the atmosphere and saying that they have different classifications and is it a breathable atmosphere or not, and they kept to it. I mean, but yeah, no, I mean, like every planet they go to should be like death to them because everything's foreign. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's another thing I see in some fiction is that one of the reasons that we're so hardy is because to the rest of the galaxy, Earth is a death world.
it may be, and there also may be the thing that with what do they call it, convergent evolution, where things on other planets develop similar to what it does here. So
Yeah, we actually have that on Earth with Australia, where we have creatures that is very similar to their mainland counterparts, except they're marsupials because they descend from a different animal, but they still fill the same niche. They still look very similar. And so, yeah, we have that. And, yeah, that's plausible. We'll run into that out there if we ever find a planet with life and get to it and everything.
Or, last thing that AI could probably do is maybe some other civilization developed AI, were killed by it, and that thing's just barreling its way through the cosmos.
Pissed off we hit it with that manhole cover.
The one where you got one frame of the
Yeah.
manhole cover being launched.
Yes, yes. The manhole cover launched into space. That's past the Voyager probe if we've got the speed right on it. Yeah, that'd be a hell of a thing, wouldn't it? If an alien race, hey, did you guys throw this shit at us? Hey, you found it. We lost that. Thanks.
We need that back. Got a guy fall into a hole the other day to cover that back up.
We only made one. Damn thing's indestructible.
But so
Yeah.
a lot of tangents on AI there and different things, but
Well, Jim, I'm not going to lie. Very, very minor tangent. I really thought when you mentioned the whole nuclear thing, bringing it back to AI, I thought you were going to say that we needed that to power the data centers now.
well, we do. I mean, think about it.
Well, didn't Microsoft buy 3 Mile Island and they're going to turn it back on?
I think I heard.
I don't remember. Is Microsoft or Google? One of the two of them. I think it's one of the two of them bought it, and they're gonna turn the plant back on. Actually, I think it's been on all this time, but they're gonna take control of it.
Yeah, which is I think it's the second reactor, the one that had the meltdown.
Yeah,
It's still there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and even then, like, no one died from that. There was no lethal exposure of radiation, like no nothing. Like, people are, 3 Mile Island, nothing happened. You know, the fail safes kicked in. You know, the plant didn't melt down into radioactive slag and kill people for thousands of miles like Chernobyl did. Chernobyl was a complete clusterfuck. Like, watch the show Chernobyl, you'll see what happened. It's a process that will never be repeated because we know everything that went wrong, and like, it's common stupidity that allowed it to happen. Fukushima was a single flaw on the design, and even that, I think the only people that died were people who got like trampled trying to escape.
Yeah, well, whoever designed it to put the backup generators below sea level.
Yeah, that's the one flaw. So
And that could have been easily fixed. Now, in the U.S., I know there was one nuclear incident that did actually release contamination, but it was such a small reactor that it didn't. And that was the SL-1 reactor. It was a government-issued reactor. The idea was that it was designed to power like a small military base,
Yeah.
and it was a test reactor. And to move the rods, you did it by hand. So supposedly that whole reactor thing suffered a major malfunction because of a lover's quarrel.
well, all I know is the reactors aboard our ships have a flawless service record, and if they didn't, like, they wouldn't allow them into port in major cities. You know, because
Yeah.
like in New York, like, they bring the ships into harbor right there in New York City that have nuclear reactors on board that are running, and they're designed to run for years. You know, like, we should just be building small reactors like that
Well,
to power the data centers.
supposedly that's also what they're talking about for the future of space travel is using nuclear powered.
Well, I know some of the satellites are powered by nuclear reactors, and I've seen a thing about nuclear batteries where they like somehow put I think it's a piece of uranium into a diamond or something like that, and it can last for like 1,000 years. It's something insane. It's not a huge charge, but it's insane what it can do. But no, like we're here in Indiana, and there's a few kerfuffles at the moment because they're wanting to build some data centers here. And they're like, yeah, so we're going to build this one here, and we have to double the electrical output of like the northern half of the state to power this. And people are like, oh, you're paying for that, right? Like, we'll get back to you on that. Just ignore your electric bills for the next ever. And so they're going to have to build more power plants, but then they're going to pass on the cost. And that's the rub. Plus, they're using a bunch of water to keep them cool, and people are really concerned about that because of how that's going to pipe the water in and out. But no, like, just need to build nuclear reactors for these things, you know.
Yes, but if you haven't watched anything on the SL-1 reactor, it's yes, and I'm not joking when I say lover's quarrel caused.
Oh, and I completely believe you, Jim.
Because the guy supposedly was so pissed at this because it was like one guy was supposed to sleep with this other guy's wife, and they were supposedly squabbling as he was pulling the rod out, pulled it up too far. The guy pulling the rod out got pinned to the ceiling. Because they said they found the two, and then it took them a while to find the other guy. They look up, and he's pinned to the ceiling with a rod through him.
So here's where we need AI, because AI won't get into a lover's quarrel. I hope.
I don't know that I want them still doing the nuclear reactors, but I think a level of intelligence. I think what we have now developed to a certain extent is probably a good thing. I think AI assistance is a good thing to get to, but I think with the way that we want to get to, if we want to get to that Star Trek future, it's being able to provide resources and stuff infinitely to people without having to.
Well, I mean, it starts with literal power, electricity. If we can dramatically increase our electrical output, which we can, again, nuclear power, then that makes a lot of other things possible. You know, and as you increase the supply, you decrease the cost, which makes certain industrial things more feasible. And I mean, that's why China builds like, what is it, like a new coal-fired power plant every week, you know? But also they're building a crap ton of solar panels and nuclear plants and everything they can get their hands on. So, I mean, they understand that like power is, well, you know, power.
How the hell they built a dam large enough to slow the rotation of the Earth?
Yeah.
The Three Gorges Dam.
Yeah, we'll see if it speeds up or that thing explodes.
Yeah, I heard something about that there was cracks and.
Not to insult our Chinese friends, but it was made in China.
That there was, I mean, an impressive feat nonetheless. It was huge. I mean, dwarfs anything ever made, kind of thing. But
yeah. Well, I know the Hoover Dam is overbuilt something like 7 times, and it dents the Earth's crust a few inches where it is because of the weight, because it was added to it. But yeah, it's I think it would actually take like a direct hit from a nuclear bomb to destroy that thing because of how thick it is, because it's steel reinforced concrete. For those of you that don't know, a little bit of our nuclear defense strategy relies on that. Our nuclear missiles out west in the silos, basically to take them out, you have to hit them like 1 for 1 with another nuclear weapon to destroy them because of how thick the shield cover is over them of steel reinforced concrete. Like an aerial burst basically won't do a damn thing to them. You basically have to hit them head on, 1 for 1. That's why we don't care if the Russians know where they are. It's like, all right, fine, waste about 1,000 of your nukes to take ours out. You know, that's why we put them in the middle of nowhere. Like, go for it. You'll never find our subs, you Russian bastards, till it's too late.
But yes, we need to get to the place where Cisco's dad can open a restaurant and not have to charge anybody money to eat there.
Yeah. We'll sort out the whole who actually owns it thing later on.
Well, I mean, technically, who owns your property anyways? Because, you know, they're talking about property taxes. You never technically own anything.
Yeah, I mean, they're not wrong. If you constantly have to pay a tax on it, and if you fail to pay the tax, they can take it away from you. You are technically only renting it. So. Yeah, but that gets into a whole other discussion. So.
Yeah, which is not AI. But anyways, you know, I guess, you know, we need to, you know, hear from all of you to add to the conversation here. I know we went on many, many tangents about, you know, AI and nuclear and other things in, you know, Star Trek and other related media, but it all kind of comes back to why it's always humans that are the ones developing AI and these things. And the thing is because we feel like I don't know, we want to play God. I mean, that's why we have Jurassic Park. That's why we have, you know, Terminator.
Well, I mean, Jim, Frankenstein was published 2 centuries ago. And that's what that book is about. It's about a man playing God. And then his creation turning against him because he's a coward. He is. Like, if you've seen movie versions, there's no castle, there's no Igor, there's none of that in the book. He brings them on, I think it's in Vienna, if I remember right, in like a townhouse or something in the city. And brings the monster to life, and immediately is like, oh my God, what have I done? I have created this horrible abomination. I am just going to get the fuck out of here and hope nothing happens. And the creature's just like, what the fuck is this? Like, I literally just came into existence. There's my creator running off. Great. And, you know, then it just like wanders off and learns how to speak and everything from like hiding in his family's house and listening to him and everything. And then finally it comes to Dr. Frankenstein. And it's like, hey, so you created me. I educated myself, found out a lot about souls because I read the Bible and Paradise Lost. No idea if I have one because you're not a god and you can't tell me. You're clearly just a man. But you're the only one that knows the secret to how you created me. Make me a bride. So I'm not alone. And he makes him a bride. And as she's coming to life, he's like, wait a minute. I can't do this. What if these things have children? They could supplant the human race. Like, I don't think so. Stops the experiment and destroys her body. And then the monster's like, all right, I warned you what would happen. I'm going to destroy everything you love, and then I'm going to kill you. You brought this on yourself. and then the two fight it out until the end of the book. So yeah, no, he's a coward. He spends all his time wanting to create life, finally does, and then runs away.
Well,
In the new Netflix movie, he's not a coward. Like he's very.
I mean, we're close to, and I don't know if it's us playing God or what, but bringing back extinct species.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking like the woolly mammoth, okay. Or if we're talking like the California condor that we killed, or the dodo or something, that's fine. Tyrannosaurus Rex? I don't think so.
Well, when we had our whole conversation about the whole Jurassic Park thing, we don't need to get into that, but when people start saying, well, no one will come and see us because dinosaurs are boring, I'm like, why do people go to zoos all the time? I mean, they're the same animals over and over again. People keep going because they like to look at animals.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to bring back like the Triceratops and keep them somewhere, like, I'm probably okay with that. It's once we get into like the carnivores, and I'm just like, no, the meteor killed them. Let's just leave it at that.
But no, I think humans playing God. That's the main reason why humans are the ones. That's at least my conclusion. Anyways,
Yeah, the Klingons don't play God. They killed their gods.
what about Kalis?
Kalis was just a guy.
But they worshipped him.
Well, yeah, but like what was it? Their gods created the Klingons. The Klingons found them wanting and turned on them and killed them, if I remember right. And I think the one that did, he's the one that's doomed to take people to Sto-Vo-Kor or something like that. Which I think we learned that in Voyager, if I remember right, because B'Elanna doesn't know where she's going to go because she's half Klingon. So.
Anyways, I'd like to, definitely, let us know down below what you think about the AI in Star Trek. If you have any other things to add to that conversation, or you think we just rambled and went off on too many tangents, let us know that too. Because believe it or not, I think Bobbie and I agree. We'd like to get to some place where it's just a Star Trek utopia in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe bypassing World War III and the eugenics war.
Hopefully.
But,
like I think, unfortunately, that Star Wars is the far more likely future in that, disparate planets have their own governments and corporations, and there's corruption everywhere, and pirates and empires, and all our human bullshit is just going to go with us to the stars. I think that's the more likely scenario.
if we're going Star Trek, it'd be the Terran Empire.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be evil like the Terran Empire. At least I hope not. But I think it'll be, or like BattleTech. BattleTech is the future of Earth. It's supposed to be about 1,100 years in the future, and that's why everyone's human, like painfully so. And I think that's how it's going to be. Whereas I want it to be Star Trek, where Earth is made into a utopia. We have technology that allows us, so we don't have to just toil away uselessly for our lives. If you want to go explore space, you can. If you want to move to a colony on another planet, you can. Or you can stay on Earth and work at Picard's vineyard, whatever.
Well, it makes me wonder if being in the Federation grants you additional things that you do not get as a normal Federation citizen. Like being able, being able to
being in Starfleet?
Yeah, being in Starfleet.
I assume so, because it's like one guy pointed out, like, there has to be some way that they decide who gets access to what. And since Starfleet probably is the one controlling most things ultimately, it's who in Starfleet, which means it's ripe with nepotism.
So I'm assuming that as a citizen of Earth, that if you want to travel to like Risa, to go on vacation, it's like you have to take a commercial thing. That space travel is very limited to what you can do, where you can go, how you can get there. That being part of Starfleet maybe grants you the ability to be able to see more of the universe, be able to see more things out there.
I mean, for Starfleet, obviously, you're going to be at the frontier, the final frontier. Whereas I think the implication is within the Federation, you can move around fairly freely, because didn't Ben's dad come to Deep Space Nine a couple times? And I mean, he'd have to have a way there from Earth, and it almost has to be a Federation ship the last leg of the journey, because it's there by the wormhole and everything. It's not really in Federation space at that point. Maybe it's a maybe it's a trawler, or maybe it's a matter of maybe it's up to you to sort out, okay, I'm going to get a ride on this guy's ship and then this guy's ship, and
Because if it was the Star Wars universe, the one thing that you would have is, well, yeah, you have money, but then you'd also have the ability to purchase your own starship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are people that have their own starships, though, and not just jerk-offs like Kivas Fajo, you know.
Mud.
Yeah, and not just people like him either. I did like that Data was going to kill Kivas Fajo, though, when he's like, I can't let this continue. Like, there's only one logical outcome here, and he's getting ready to fire. And O'Brien's like, Commander, like, I noticed there seems to be a weapons discharge, and Data's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Rocky's just like, I think he's going to kill that guy. Yeah, there are private, there are private ships. I don't know how people came about them because again, we don't understand completely how property works in the Federation, but they do exist. We know that there's private like ore haulers and things like that from at least the Enterprise period, and all that has to still exist. They don't just like, okay, Enterprise, we need you to pick up this load of dilithium ingots over here. And they're like, no, they get special people for that.
Yeah. Well, in the one episode of Enterprise, the one guy on the Enterprise, his dad and family.
Yeah, he goes back to the ship. Yeah.
Yeah, they were haulers.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, yeah, it takes like 4 or 5 years to haul this stuff across space because we're doing like warp 1.
Sure, but I mean, after a certain point, they'd upgrade too. So you would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that needs to be discussed. That's a topic we need to discuss. You need to add that to your list at some point. Property in Star Trek. How the hell does that work?
Yeah.
And if there's any other Star Trek topics you could think of that we can discuss on here, let us know that as well.
Yeah.
We've got some other options out there. At least one of them, I was like, I may have to go back and watch Deep Space Nine before we go over to that one. It's been too long since I've watched it.
It's a good show.
I know it is.
Brian's watching it right now.
Tell me how it is, Brian.
Yep.
All right. Do we got anything else to talk about on this topic? Anything else you want to talk
about? Well, I want to ask you a question.
All right.
Okay, and I'm going to try to keep this very brief because in editing I can probably get this video back down to an hour and a half once I speed everything up. So, I did the video on Predator 2. So I've got 2 questions for you. Okay. One, what do you think of it as a movie?
Predator 2. So you're talking with...
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover. Honestly, I think it was a natural transition going from the jungle to the...
To Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Jungle?
Yeah, City Jungle. Yeah. It made sense. I thought it was good. Do I think Danny Glover's character would have been able to win? Probably not. But I think he was probably looked upon as not a real challenge. And when he did, when he ended up having the one weapon, was able to break free and then just gut punch the alien with it or the Predator with it. That he earned the respect. And I like how the fact that the one Predator movie circles back that those guns that he...
Oh, Prey?
Yeah, Prey.
I still don't watch that one either.
But no, I think it was good. I think it was good. I think it was a good follow-up. I think it kept the tone very similar. I mean, you had people being skinned and, their skulls taken. I mean, that was the first mention of the fact that aliens were also...
Yeah, everything Alien versus Predator comes from that movie. That one shot in that movie, the Xenomorph skull there in the trophy collection.
And I like the fact that the humans are aware of the Predators to a point that they have some stuff to shield themselves from its infrared.
They try to turn the hunter into the hunted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, and again, it's been a while since I've watched it. There's not a whole lot of flaws that I can think of in that movie.
Okay, so actually I guess I have 3 questions then, because I didn't really expect that answer. Do you remember other people having a more negative opinion of the movie?
I don't really. I mean, I think the biggest one is the fact that Arnold didn't show up in any capacity, and that he was only barely mentioned.
Okay, so I asked that because if you ever look up like the ratings for it or anything, they are terrible. It's like, on like the tomato meter, it's like 40 some odd percent. The audience reaction is also in the 40 percentile range. Like, it's bad. And yet, the few people I know that have watched it, and myself, like, I think Predator is the better movie.
So it's got on IMDb, it's got a 6.3 out of 10, and the Metascore is 46.
Okay.
I did not look up the Rotten Tomatoes score or any of that.
Okay, well, I see those when I watch it on Vudu, or it's Fandango now. And I rewatched it before I did the video, so I saw the ratings. And again, the whole spun out of the conversation of why is this considered such a bad movie? And watching it, I was like, this isn't a bad movie. Like, I remember considering it lesser of the two, but not bad. And I think the problem is Predator came out in 1987.
Yep.
Predator 2 came out in 1990. Predators came out 20 years later. We've had 20 years of this is a sketchy sequel. And that just gets ingrained in people's mind. And then we start getting sequels and like, oh, this is not as bad as Predator 2. And no one ever goes back and watches it and is like, oh, wait a minute, this is better than half the shit Hollywood makes today.
Well, that and I mean, they are two totally different movies. I mean,
Oh, for sure. They're definitely different.
I mean, it's like Alien versus Aliens. I mean,
Yeah.
And that's like trying to compare the two, compare Alien to Aliens. There's going to be people that like Aliens more because it's the gun-toting, you go from Alien and go, if they only had guns, if they had, machine guns.
Yeah. James Cameron's like, I'll give you guns. I'll give you lots of guns. They'll be useless.
But against one alien, it would probably have been very useful.
Yeah.
But not against the...
Not against hordes of aliens.
hordes of them, no. And I think that's where you get between Predator and, Predator 2, is that it's a different thing, different caliber of weapons, and I mean, a completely different hunting ground. I mean, and for the Predator, I think it's harder to explain why he's there, because how do you hunt in a city where the prey doesn't even know you're there at all? I mean, I get, like, the first one, he made his kind of, he hinted at his presence, I think, on purpose.
Well, I think the first movie and I guess to an extent the second movie are also supposed to be a real subtle commentary on humans hunting things. Like a deer stands no chance against a human if we really try. And we don't have to try that hard. Sitting up in a stand where the deer can't even see us, we're going to blast them with a high-powered rifle or a shotgun loaded with slugs. We've got something to attract them. Like, we may as well be the predator at that point.
Yeah.
And I think it's a commentary on that, because to the predators, oh, this is a big hunt. It's like, they can't even fucking see you. Oh, well, it has a weapon. It can defend itself. Like, yeah. Like in the subway train, Bill Paxton unloads 2 magazines from his handgun at the predator. It didn't do a damn thing. Like, it didn't just hit his armor. It had to hit him. Like, that means it's immune to handgun bullets, just by virtue of how dense its skin is.
Yeah.
And then he has to resort to a machete, as if he stands any chance with a machete. Like, no, that's why I think it's a commentary on that kind of stuff. But anyway, the reason I ask is because of that last question, is the 20 years of, oh, that was a so-so sequel, just becomes ingrained, and it's hard to break that. And, like, I just wonder, like, how critical timing is to some of these things. Like, take the Star Wars movies. For you and I, 2/3 of the original trilogy existed before we were even born.
Yep.
And by the time we watched them, the whole trilogy existed. That was Star Wars, not A New Hope, the whole trilogy. We never had that, oh man, in 3 years, I wonder what's coming next. Like, no, it's boom, 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 here they are. And then we had a little bit of that with the prequels, because we weren't, but then for people that grew up with the prequels, they had a similar thing. Like, the Star Wars movies already existed, and then the prequels come along. And so, like, for me, like, I think Alien 3 was out before I watched any of the Alien movies. So there always had been an Alien, and Aliens, and an Alien 3. And then the other movies are the new movies. And I just wonder how much that impacts people's perspective of things, And that's why I say, like, that's Disney's goal with some of the Star Wars stuff, is they know at a certain point they're going to have fans that this stuff's all just already existed. They're not going to know about the controversies. They're not going to know about any of that crap. They're just going to be episode 1 through 9. And either they're going to like 7 through 9 or they're not. But, like, they're going to be like, well, those Star Wars movies have always existed. And we're going to be like, no, they didn't.
Yeah, no.
And so, like, but eventually we'll be dead. And, so will Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy and probably most of the people in the Star Wars movies.
Yep.
And it'll just be other people. And I just wonder how big of an impact that has on your perspective of things. Because, like, with the Predator movies in particular, I saw the first one before the second one came out. So, like, to me, there was the Predator. Then Predator 2 came out, Like, I saw the first Terminator well before Terminator 2 came out. And so, I have a different experience with those movies versus, again, Star Wars and Star Trek,
Yeah, no, I think, and this is the other thing, is that sometimes people, like these ratings, a lot of these ratings, are more modern stuff. And I think there's some people that go back and look at these movies and just, like, that they're expecting some sort of different experience. Like, the experience from the 80s and 90s is different than, stuff they're developing today. I mean, honestly, anybody that finds anything today that's really a work of art or a masterpiece is hard to find because
or it's someone that hasn't experienced. And there's probably older people that say that about stuff from the 80s and 90s that were like, oh, this is awesome. And they're like, oh, you whippersnappers, like, what you need is these talkies from the 30s, you know.
But I don't know. I mean, I still think, movies that came out in the late, 70s and 80s and 90s just had a different caliber to them. One is, and this may ruffle some feathers, that that topics weren't off, like certain ways of talking, certain ways of people behaving, the actual dialogue people said, like that stuff wasn't really taken into consideration. I mean, don't get me wrong, that may make movies age very poorly at times, because people use, words that are not as socially appropriate anymore, or they use, they talk about topics like,
Nixon being president,
blackface,
or calling someone a jive turkey.
Yeah. Things that just wouldn't, but there was a caliber of things like when the movies came out, I think, the hype about going to watch the movies in theaters, I mean, and some of that's also because of streaming services. Streaming services, I think, ruined the whole entire movie watching experience. It's great to have at home.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think physical media needs to be made for movies. I don't think there's a whole lot of benefit of having movies in a physical sense, unlike video games. I think it's great to have video games. I know it's a contradiction because most people are like, oh yeah, that's great.
It's like, there's a guy, I watched some of his videos and he talks about movies and stuff, and he mentioned he's like, here's some clips from movies from the 90s, and he's like, I'm even going to give you bad movies. It's like it was Last Boy Scout and something else. He's like, these are objectively terrible movies. He's like, these look better than anything being made today. He's like, they look better. And he cuts to one scene, he's like, look at this. Look at the lighting. There's smoke in this room, but you can still see who's in it. Like, this is perfect. Like this just doesn't happen in movies today, or it's some CGI slop. Yeah. He's like, how did we go from the 90s with inferior technology to now, and we can't do this anymore? Or we don't, anyway. And almost every movie he was pointing to is directed by Tony Scott, though. And so someone down in the comments like, well, it's just Tony Scott. I'm like, well, no, it's Tony Scott's cinematographer, but still. But yeah, I was just curious what your take on that.
Well, and speaking of movies that can seem to do it right, these days, that's we're talking about. I should have mentioned it earlier, is that they announced that Godzilla -0. Yes, that's the sequel to Godzilla -1.
Oh, okay. Huh?
Godzilla -0 is going to be the sequel, and people are like, that doesn't math right.
That's all right, Jim.
People are like, should it be -2 or maybe +2 or?
They can get the math wrong all they want as long as they get the movie right.
Which, like I say, if they follow up and do a decent job like they did with Godzilla -1, Godzilla -0 will be phenomenal because it was what I would want a Godzilla movie to be nowadays. So, maybe they'll actually have a monster in it, another one.
I assume they will for a sequel.
Because if they follow like they did with the original, because the original, I think it's 55 when.
King of the Monsters?
When it came out, it was just Godzilla.
Yeah.
And then I think it was the next one after that.
Fun fact, Jim, if you watch that movie in reverse, what you have is a benevolent lizard rebuilding a fire-destroyed city.
But, we're just...
Yeah, it'd probably be Mothra, I assume.
I think we're just a bunch of...
Mothra or Rodan, maybe.
We're getting to that age now. We're complaining about new things, new music, new movies.
No, there's still some new music I listen to. Not a lot. I don't listen to the radio. I find it on YouTube. But I was telling someone the other day, oh, yeah, I listen to kind of new music. But the song I pointed out was like 10 years old already. It's like, well, newer. But there is at least one band I still follow that does make new music that I watch. I say watch because it's on YouTube and listen to it. Gunship is the name of the band. Of course, their music is like 80s electronic synth music. So, take that for what it's worth. In fact, you saw The Lost Boys, right?
It's been a while, but yes.
You know how there's that one moment where there's the guy playing the saxophone down on the beach that they go to his show? He's singing the song "I Still Believe." Okay, well, his name's Tim Capello, and I only know that because one day I was watching. As I'm watching the credits, it's like Tim Capello as himself. I was like, who the hell played themselves in this movie? And so I had to look it up. I realized he's a saxophone guy. He's in some of their songs. Like he's still a pretty big guy, but he's not quite as ripped. He's kind of filled out in here, but like he's still got it for the saxophone though. And like literally the comments of the video is like, "Hey, it's saxophone guy." Like it's Tim Capella, dude. Like it's not saxophone guy. Like he is the saxophone man, but like still.
I thought that was my gosh, the guy that plays he also plays the sax. Oh my gosh, now I can't think of what his name is. The long Kenny G.
Yeah, it's not Kenny G.
Kenny G.
No, I don't think Kenny G was that ripped. I don't think. But yeah, no. So he's in some of their songs. Actually, there's a woman who sang in one of the songs. Her name's Indiana. She's British. I don't know. Don't ask me. But yeah, their music's good though. So wish I could give you samples of it, but I can't because it's YouTube and it's copyrighted. So look it up. Gunship. One song is it's Dark All Day, and I remember the other one. But they still release music pretty consistently though.
And as much as we dog on movies and new stuff today, it's like there's no reason why these scenes can't be better than what they are. Like I said, I always go back to Godzilla -1. Great movie. Modern movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and like Jim said, they still make good movies. Like, I thought 28 Years Later was great. It's still the best movie I've seen so far this year. New movie, I don't know if I consider it better than Scream or not. Maybe. But, it's an excellent movie. And it's on streaming now, too, by the way. Folks should check it out. Did a video on it, too.
So when you watch the Thunderbolts, I watched the Corridor Digital or Corridor Crew, whatever, do a review on the special effects, and they said some of the fight scenes looked really, really awful in that movie. Like there was one where I think they were either training or something, and then I think Ghost was fighting Taskmaster and gets knocked into a.
No, they're not training.
What are they doing?
So, do you remember Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character?
Yeah.
They all work for her, and she's like taking a bunch of heat from Congress. And she's like, well, time to clean the slate. So she sends each of them into this building with orders to kill one of the others, hoping that they're all just going to take each other out, and then the self-destruct will kill whoever's left. And so no, they're fighting to the death.
Yeah.
They're not training.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. I haven't seen it. So, but there was this one thing where they show like Ghost getting like knocked the hell over through some things, and it's just they're like the momentum doesn't work that way. You don't accelerate from an impact, or like you don't start, you don't get hit and then get going faster as you move away from the camera. You should be slowing down. And I mean, I guess hers is kind of weird because she could probably phase in and out to the point where she's lighter. But no, it's just
no. I wasn't paying anywhere near enough attention to spot things like that.
No, it's just okay. How about Black Widow?
I wish I wasn't paying any attention to Black Widow.
There was some horrible special effects, and it's just like, how can you have these huge ass budgets and just produce something that looks like garbage?
Okay, that's part of the current Marvel problem, is that they're like, okay, we need this movie done in 2 years, so the special effects team starts on it. Then like a year and a half into, they're like, okay, we're going to reshoot half the movie, so we need you to like redo those special effects for the reshoots, and the team's like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not physically possible. So then you got to hire a bunch of other people and rush the shit out of the last part of it, is basically what they do.
Yeah.
And it's all held together with like duct tape and bubble gum.
Well,
and that's the problem. And it's like they make like 3 of these movies a year, so they're literally chewing up like almost all the digital resources that Hollywood has to offer all at once.
Yeah, instead of making one good movie and just say, you know what, let's draw it out, let's write it up, let's make it a good story.
And so far, I don't think Doomsday is going to be that movie. They started filming without the script being complete.
Oh yeah, they
always a good sign.
Yeah, that's how we got episodes 8 and 9.
Yeah, and so we got Quantum of Solace, the Bond movie that I'm still not entirely certain what the hell the plot was supposed to be. It looked beautiful, but other than that,
I gotta watch it now because I don't remember it.
Watch Casino Royale first. It's the better movie. As much as I despise Bond playing Texas Hold'em,
what about
Bond doesn't sully himself with such pedestrian games. He plays games like Baccarat that no American can possibly understand.
Probably had one of the worst torture scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
Well, here's an effective torture scene. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I give Craig's Bond credit for. Like, he knows how to turn the tables on those guys. Like in Skyfall, whenever Javier Bardem is basically trying to like come on to him, and he's just like, what makes you think this is my first time? And Javier Bardem's like, and just stops altogether because he's only doing it to fuck with Bond, And he's like, and Bond's like, come on, guy, like, I've been on dates before, whatever. Everybody's like, is he lying or not? I don't know. But it's clearly is not going to be effective anymore. So, yeah. Skyfall was good.
But
Yeah.
at some point, we're going to also have the discussion on, if we had just episode 7, how you could actually affix the other two. Because while episode 7 wasn't a great Star Wars movie, I think it had the foundations of what could have been a good, series.
I think if we're allowed to tweak a few things in 7, we could produce a better outcome.
All right.
I'm not going to go into what, because we'll be here for another 3 hours.
We need to go. Well, we're going to do this in an episode. That is going to be an episode where we just do nothing but we start with 7 with a few tweaks, what our 8 and 9 would have been, and probably throw some stuff in there from the expanded universe. I still see people like, you that complain about the original trilogy, what could we have done to make it better? And people are like, expanded universe books.
Or Kathleen Kennedy. It's not like there's 1,000-page books about this kind of stuff, and people are like, well, there were until you fucking decanonized all of it. And they got the Will Smith meme where he's just, the gobs of books that were over there. I actually see people now that are like, oh, Kathleen Kennedy deserves an apology. I'm like, the fuck she does? Her and Bob Iger need to be ridden out of town.
For what?
I don't know. They're like, well, Andor was good. Like, okay, yeah, Andor was good. Like, they did produce good things. I've acknowledged that they produced good things. It's just that they completely fucked the sequel trilogy. That's unforgivable.
You know why Andor was good? Because Andor had to fit within certain criteria to fit within between the prequels and the original trilogy.
Well, there's also another reason. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible here because we're trying to wrap this up. And again, this guy that is talking about, does these videos, talked about Star Wars. The big problem Star Wars has right now is George Lucas made Star Wars with all these other ideas in his head from other scenes and movies and things he'd seen. He cobbled them together and made them his own, and that's what Star Wars is. But what we have now are people who grew up on Star Wars and are just trying to make more of what they've not seen those other things. So they're not trying to make anything different. They're basically just trying to that's why 7 is like a copy of 4. The guy who made Andor doesn't like Star Wars. He said so, point blank. So he's coming with his own ideas from other things and making them fit within Star Wars. And that's what needs to happen, is we need more people like that who have other ideas, other concepts, other sources of inspiration, and then mold that into fit within the Star Wars universe. Like, that's why the first couple seasons of The Mandalorian work. It's a Western in space. It's different. It's not what we've seen, but still feels like Star Wars, So yeah, I think there's something to that. I don't know if you necessarily have to find someone that dislikes Star Wars. We tried that with episode 8, but Rian Johnson. Hey, at least the other day he confirmed his trilogy is dead and it will not be happening. So, Kathleen Kennedy, you get a thank you on me for that one, I guess. It's the only thank you you're going to get from me.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Too much time. We need to conclude this meeting.
Yeah.
And I just realized that with that last discussion we have added a 4th part that we didn't announce in the beginning, so you may want to put a...
Yeah, don't worry. I'll clear it up in editing and some timestamps and whatnot.
But, yeah. Anyways, we'll conclude this meeting of the Geek Cabal. Make sure you do all the normal YouTube stuff, the likes, comments, shares, subscribes, all that good stuff.
The sharing and commenting would help us grow the channel, and we appreciate everyone that helped us get over 600 subscribers not too long ago. Yep. We literally couldn't do it without you. So,
if they weren't watching it, But hey, we do appreciate all of that, and and also appreciate all the people that have gone over to TikTok to see the little shorter form content for the getting that stuff. We're up to over 230 followers there.
Oh,
so
all right.
But yeah, anyways, that's all that we've got, and we'll see you on the next one.
In the words of the Vulcans, live long and prosper.
I can't do that, so I'll just say. What was it? The
peace and long life, I think, is the return greeting.
All right. Well, peace and long life. Whatever Zephyr Cochrane did when he just shook their hand. So, all right. See ya.